Faith, when applied with intention and consistency, becomes the unseen force that shapes our lives from within. In Applied Faith, Napoleon Hill doesn't simply speak of faith as a religious idea or passive belief. He illuminates it as a living, breathing principle that we must use, one that holds the power to transform the intangible into reality. At its core, the book is a blueprint for merging belief with action, turning inner conviction into outer manifestation. It's not about waiting for miracles, it's about working your faith, even when the odds are stacked against you, even when fear creeps in, even when logic suggests giving up. Hill teaches that faith is not something to be reserved for moments of desperation or ceremony, rather, it is to be lived daily. It is applied in the decisions we make, the way we speak to ourselves, the way we treat others, and in the perseverance with which we chase our dreams. Applied faith means acting as if what we desire is already on its way, even when there is no physical evidence to support it. It is the refusal to be guided solely by what our eyes can see or what the world says is realistic. Real faith is visionary. It sees what could be, and it dares to move toward it. One of the most powerful messages of this book is that faith must be chosen, and it must be practiced. Like a muscle, faith grows through use. Just as we would not expect to lift heavy weights without training our body, we should not expect to possess unwavering faith without daily exercises of the heart and mind. When we choose to believe in ourselves, in a cause, in a dream, despite setbacks or pain, we engage in one of the most sacred acts of creation. Hill gently but firmly reminds us that faith is most valuable when it is hardest to maintain. That's when it proves its worth. He tells stories of individuals who faced great adversity, people who had every reason to quit, yet they pressed forward, armed with nothing more than belief. He doesn't glorify suffering but rather shows how faith transforms it. For instance, he shares the example of a man who lost everything, business, wealth, reputation. But instead of being crushed, this man applied faith. He trusted that his purpose still existed, that his failure was not the end, but a beginning in disguise. He rebuilt not just his business, but his character, and in time, regained not only his success, but something far greater, inner peace. This is the power of applied faith. It doesn't just restore, it elevates. Hill makes it clear that applied faith is not blind optimism. It is not pretending things are fine when they aren't. It is not ignoring pain or brushing aside challenges. It is knowing, in the marrow of your bones, that every storm has a purpose, every loss holds a lesson, and every delay contains direction. It is listening to the quiet whisper within that says, keep going. Something good is coming. It is the sacred pause between intention and realization, the spiritual posture of confidence that trusts timing even when we can't control outcomes. He also emphasizes the relationship between faith and fear. The two cannot coexist in the same space. Wherever fear dominates, faith is diminished. But where faith is practiced, fear has no power. Hill encourages us to examine our thoughts, our habits, and the words we speak, for they either nourish faith or feed fear. He writes that applied faith is not only believing in a higher power, but also aligning with it, understanding that we are not separate from the source of all abundance and strength. This divine connection, when nurtured, gives us the courage to dream beyond our limitations and to rise beyond our failures. Hill doesn't present this philosophy in the abstract. He brings it into practical life. He urges us to start the day with a clear intention, to speak affirmations rooted in belief, to visualize our goals as though they are already fulfilled, and to take consistent action, no matter how small. Faith, after all, is not just mental, it is behavioral. You prove your belief through your behavior. Do you show up when you don't feel ready? Do you act with integrity even when no one is watching? Do you persist when there are no guarantees? If so, you are living applied faith. He also speaks deeply about surrender, not as giving up, but as letting go of the how. So often, we become obsessed with figuring out every step, with controlling every piece of the process. But applied faith invites us to focus on what we want and why we want it, and then release the burden of how it will arrive. We still work, we still plan, but we do not cling. We trust. We open ourselves to divine timing and allow things to unfold in ways that often surpass our understanding. This surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. A particularly poignant section of the book discusses the role of adversity in growing our faith. Hill insists that challenges are not obstacles to faith, they are the training grounds for it. Just as gold is refined in fire, so too is our belief strengthened through trial. When everything is going well, faith is easy. But when everything seems to fall apart, that's when we discover what we really believe. Hill suggests writing down your adversities, your losses, your rejections, and asking yourself, what is this here to teach me? How is this preparing me? That shift in perception, from victim to student, is faith in action. There is a sacred strength that comes from trusting your own journey. Applied faith teaches us that we are never alone, that within each of us is a spark of the infinite, a divine intelligence that guides, supports, and uplifts us, especially in our darkest hours. Hill encourages us to cultivate this inner guidance through silence, prayer, meditation, or any practice that centers the soul. When we are connected within, we are less swayed by the chaos without. Throughout the book, Hill intertwines spiritual insight with practical steps. He recommends surrounding ourselves with people who uplift and inspire us, because faith is contagious. He warns against negative influences and idle complaining, which weaken the spirit. He urges us to be intentional with our words, for every word we speak is either planting seeds of faith or weeds of doubt. He encourages us to give, not only in money, but in kindness, in encouragement, in service, because generosity is a form of faith that says, there is always more. And perhaps most profoundly, Hill reminds us that we are co-creators with life itself. We are not victims of chance. We are not powerless. Through the conscious application of faith, we become artists of destiny. We shape our futures not only by what we do, but by what we believe while we do it. This idea alone is transformative. To live as if life is for you, not against you, to walk with the quiet assurance that your efforts matter, to dream not with desperation, but with conviction, this is how faith becomes real. In the end, Applied Faith is not a book to be read once and set aside. It is a philosophy to be lived, moment by moment. It calls us to believe in our dreams, to trust the process, to surrender control, and to take bold action, all at the same time. It is both spiritual and strategic, emotional and empowering. It does not promise that everything will go according to our plans, but it assures us that everything will serve our growth, if we meet it with faith. When you finish this book, you do not walk away with all the answers. You walk away with something more valuable, a renewed commitment to trust life, to trust yourself, and to move forward with courage. You walk away knowing that the most powerful force in your life isn't what's happening around you, it's what you believe inside of you. That is the essence of applied faith. And when you begin to live by it, you will find that life responds in ways that are nothing short of miraculous.